There are moments when silence moves between people like an invisible curtain, gentle yet unmistakable, and in that quiet space, the absence of eye contact becomes its own language. Some individuals walk through life holding their gaze close to themselves, as if meeting another's eyes might reveal too much or open a door they are not ready to step through. There is a certain vulnerability in being seen, not merely in the physical sense, but in allowing another person to witness the shifting emotions that rise and fall beneath the surface. To meet someone's gaze is to offer a glimpse into one's inner weather, and not every soul feels safe enough to reveal its storms. In a world that constantly encourages boldness, the quiet ones who lower their gaze often carry an entire universe within them. They are not always avoiding others. Sometimes they are simply safeguarding the delicate balance of their inner world. Human emotions often move like tides, retreating when the shore becomes too crowded. Avoiding eye contact can be the soul's instinctive way of preserving its softness. It is not always fear. Sometimes it is the gentle act of self-preservation. There are people who feel everything with an intensity that even they cannot fully articulate. For them, eye contact is not a simple gesture, it is an emotional exchange. It carries the weight of judgment, expectation, curiosity, or connection. And connection, though beautiful, can feel overwhelming when one has spent much of life navigating emotions that appear larger than life itself. Some hearts are tender in ways the world rarely understands, absorbing every tone, every shift, every unspoken message. For such hearts, the act of looking away becomes a quiet way of staying afloat. Human beings often forget how powerful presence can be. The gaze of another person is not just a look, it is a psychological mirror. It reflects back insecurities, questions, hopes, and fears. People who avoid eye contact are not running from others. They are often running from the reflections within themselves that they are not yet prepared to confront. The eyes reveal honesty, and honesty can feel heavy when one is still sorting through the layers of who they are and what they wish to become. Some individuals learned early in life that looking down was safer than looking up. They grew accustomed to making themselves small in moments that felt too large. For them, eye contact became associated with conflict, criticism, or expectations they could not meet. Over time, the body learned this response so deeply that it became almost instinctive. The lowered gaze became a shield, a quiet reminder that not every battlefield is external. Some wars are fought within the boundaries of the self, and avoiding eye contact simply reflects the subtle ways people protect their inner peace. There's also a certain humility in averted eyes, not the false kind shaped by insecurity, but the gentle, natural humility of someone who moves through the world with quiet steps. Some people avoid eye contact because they feel deeply aware of the emotional weight another person carries. They do not wish to intrude, nor do they wish to impose the vastness of their own inner thoughts upon someone else. They navigate life with a kind of emotional courtesy, offering silence instead of intrusion, softness instead of intensity. In psychological terms, avoidance of eye contact can arise from anxiety, heightened sensitivity, overthinking, or the simple desire to remain unseen. But beneath these explanations lies a deeper truth. Humans are not built from logic alone. They are shaped by memory, shaped by moments that taught them what feels safe and what feels threatening, shaped by invisible histories the world may never witness. Eye contact touches those histories, brushing against wounds both healed and unhealed. Yet it is important to remember that avoidance does not always mean disconnection. Some individuals feel most connected when words are soft, gestures are subtle, and presence is mellow. They connect through energy, through tone, through quiet understanding rather than through the directness of a gaze. Their form of connection is gentle, almost like the slow unfolding of a morning sky. They offer depth in silence, not avoidance. They offer presence without spectacle. We often speak of eyes as windows to the soul, but not every soul wishes to keep its windows open. Some prefer to let the light seep in slowly, cautiously, at a pace that honors their emotional rhythm. The world sometimes misinterprets this reluctance as coldness, shyness, or disinterest, but in truth, it is simply another way of being human. Sensitivity expresses itself in many forms, and the absence of eye contact is one of its quietest expressions. There are people who look away not because they are weak, but because they feel deeply. They sense the emotional frequencies of others with a clarity that can be overwhelming. To meet someone's gaze is or them to step into a field of unspoken stories, and not every story is easy to carry. Some hearts, already full with the weight of their own experiences, hesitate to take on even more. Life teaches each person different lessons, and one of the most subtle lessons is how to protect one's emotional boundaries. Avoiding eye contact for many is simply that, a boundary. It is the recognition that being seen too closely can sometimes feel like being unguarded in a world that does not always handle softness with care. Psychological boundaries are not built from fear. They are built from understanding one's limits, respecting one's emotional capacity. And yet, beneath the layers of psychology, there exists a quieter, more universal truth. Humans yearn to be understood even when they struggle to be seen. Those who avoid eye contact are no exception. Their longing for connection runs deep. It simply follows a different pathway. They connect through listening, through presence, through empathy. They offer a kind of emotional steadiness that does not require direct gaze. Their attention is felt rather than seen. In the grand landscape of human behavior, eye contact is merely one form of expression. Its absence does not diminish the depth of one's inner world. If anything, it often reveals that the inner world is vast, intricate, and delicately tuned. People who avoid eye contact are often those who carry layers of introspection. They move through life with a sensitivity that allows them to understand emotions with remarkable clarity, even if they express that understanding quietly. There is a certain beauty in this kind of gentleness, not the dramatic beauty that demands attention, but the understated kind that exists in stillness. Eye contact may be a doorway for some, but for others, the doorway lies in the soft turns of conversation, in the comfortable pauses, in the kind of presence that asks for nothing and gives everything. Their silence is not emptiness, it is depth waiting to be understood. In time, many of these individuals discover that the gaze they once feared becomes easier to meet, not because they have changed, but because they have grown into the parts of themselves that once felt too exposed. With emotional maturity comes a quiet confidence, an understanding that being seen is not always a threat. Sometimes it is an opportunity for connection, for healing, for mutual understanding. The journey toward this realization is slow, gentle, and deeply personal. Even then, eye contact may never become their primary language, and that is perfectly human. Every soul has its own rhythm, its own way of communicating, its own form of truth. The psychology of avoiding eye contact is not a flaw to be corrected, but a window into the complexity of human emotion. It reminds us that expression does not always need to be direct to be sincere. In the quiet spaces where eyes do not meet, there still exists the possibility of profound understanding. In the end, the absence of eye contact is simply another way of moving through the world. It reflects a heart that feels deeply, a mind that thinks carefully, and a spirit that values the sanctity of its own emotional space. It is a reminder that humans are intricate beings, shaped by countless moments, memories, and meanings. And sometimes, the most honest forms of connection do not require a meeting of eyes, but a meeting of understanding. There are seasons in life when people learn to navigate the world through subtle gestures rather than direct encounters. These seasons shape their emotional language, refining it into softness rather than boldness. In these times, the absence of eye contact becomes a quiet testament to the inner work happening beneath the surface. People learn to listen to themselves more than to the expectations around them. They begin to understand the gentle art of carrying their own hearts without demanding more than they can give. Some individuals discover that silence offers clarity in ways conversation cannot. When eyes remain lowered, the world grows quieter and inner thoughts rise to the surface with striking honesty. This introspective clarity becomes a sanctuary, a place where emotions can breathe freely without the pressure to perform. The mind wanders through memories, tracing the paths that shaped its sensitivity. The heart revisits old wounds with compassion, acknowledging the strength it took to endure them. Avoiding eye contact becomes not an escape, but a form of inner listening, an invitation to understand oneself more deeply. The psychology behind this behavior is intertwined with the way humans learn to navigate their inner landscapes. Sensitivity, often misunderstood, becomes the guiding force. Sensitive individuals do not shy away because they lack courage. They shy away because they feel too much, too deeply, too quickly. Their perception reaches beyond what is spoken, sensing the weight of unexpressed emotions in others. Gift, but also a burden, as it requires emotional energy that cannot always be freely given. The averted gaze becomes a way of managing that emotional intensity. Society often celebrates confidence as something loud, visible, and direct. Yet the quiet forms of confidence go unnoticed. The confidence to remain soft in a world that encourages hardness, the confidence to protect one's emotional boundaries, the confidence to honor one's own pace. People who avoid eye contact carry this quiet confidence. They do not force themselves to fit into molds that contradict their emotional truth. Instead, they build their lives around authenticity, even when that authenticity requires silence. There comes a time when these individuals begin to trust the rhythm of their emotions. They realize that every gesture, even the act of looking away, carries meaning. It is not a rejection of the world, but a reflection of how gently they wish to move through it. They understand that connection does not depend on the intensity of a gaze, but on the sincerity of presence. Averted eyes can still hold empathy. Soft gestures can still carry strength. Quiet spirits can still make profound impact. As they grow, they learn that being seen is not a threat but a choice. When the time feels right, they lift their gaze in small moments of courage, testing the weight of vulnerability with steady hands. These moments, though brief, are powerful. They reveal the slow unfolding of a heart learning to trust again. They remind the world that growth does not need to be dramatic to be real. Even the smallest upward glance can hold the significance of 1,000 unspoken realizations. Ultimately, the avoidance of eye contact becomes part of a larger journey. The journey of understanding oneself, honoring one's boundaries, and embracing the complexities of being human. It becomes a symbol of the quiet ways people protect their inner worlds, nurture their emotional landscapes, and move through life with intention. And in this quietness, there is a beauty that deserves to be recognized, not judged. In these soft moments, the deeper nature of emotion emerges, showing that every quiet hesitation holds meaning, and every gentle boundary reveals a truth about being human and presence. And in these soft moments, the deeper nature of emotion emerges, showing that every quiet hesitation holds meaning, and every gentle boundary reveals a truth about being human and presence. The avoidance of eye contact, when seen through this lens, becomes less a limitation and more a reflection of an inner landscape shaped by thoughtfulness, sensitivity, and care. It is not a withdrawal from the world, but a measured response to it, a deliberate pause before exposing the self to the complexities of human gaze. The eyes, though powerful in communication, are not the sole measure of understanding or connection. They are one instrument among many, and some souls choose to speak through silence, through tone, through subtle attention, rather than through direct confrontation. There is an artistry in this restraint, an unspoken wisdom that often goes unnoticed by a society obsessed with outward signals and visible confidence. Those who navigate life without relying on eye contact have learned a different rhythm, a rhythm dictated by internal cues, emotional attunement, and a constant negotiation between self-preservation and connection. Their world is calibrated in gentle increments, careful adjustments, and moments of reflection that may seem inconspicuous but are deeply intentional. In avoiding the immediate intensity of another's gaze, they cultivate a space where emotions can settle and clarity can emerge. The psychological roots of this behavior are intertwined with the ways humans manage vulnerability. To meet the gaze of another is to expose the self to the unfiltered mirror of judgment, empathy, or curiosity. Even in benign contexts, the eyes carry weight, the subtle messages of attention, expectation, and interpretation. Avoiding eye contact then becomes an adaptive response, a learned strategy that balances emotional receptivity with protection. It is neither weakness nor fear, it is a sophisticated understanding of one's own emotional bandwidth. Humans, after all, are not infinite reservoirs of attention or resilience. They must navigate how much of themselves they can give in any given moment. This avoidance is also a testament to the complexity of human perception. Some individuals sense emotions with such acute awareness that meeting another's gaze can feel like stepping into a storm. They perceive not only the overt signals, but also the subtle undercurrents, the tension beneath the smile, the hesitation in the pause, the unspoken anxieties that ripple outward. For them, the act of looking away is not avoidance in its typical sense, but a mechanism to maintain equilibrium, to prevent being swept away by emotional currents they are ill-prepared to carry. The world's visual intensity becomes tempered by intentional withdrawal, creating a buffer that allows for observation without overwhelm. Yet within this measured withdrawal lies a paradox. The very act of avoiding the eyes does not signify disinterest or emotional detachment. On the contrary, it often reflects a heightened attentiveness. In turning away, there is space to listen, to reflect, to notice patterns that may escape others. Sensitivity manifests here as both caution and insight, a duality where protection and awareness coexist. Humans who adopt this behavior are acutely aware of relational subtleties, capable of perceiving nuances in tone, posture, and energy that often go unnoticed. Their avoidance is strategic, a form of emotional literacy that values comprehension over confrontation. The tension between vulnerability and visibility is central to this psychological phenomenon. Humans navigate the delicate balance between wanting to connect and needing to safeguard the self. Eye contact is a microcosm of this broader struggle. It is both intimate and exposing, immediate and inescapable. For those attuned to the emotional weight carried by another's gaze, the decision to avert the eyes is deliberate, calculated, and nuanced. It reflects an internal negotiation: how much to reveal, how much to shield, how much to absorb without dissolving into another's presence. This negotiation is ongoing, fluid, and deeply personal, shifting with context, energy, and inner readiness. Society often misinterprets these behaviors, labeling them as shyness, insecurity, or social awkwardness. But in truth, the avoidance of eye contact is rarely simplistic. It is layered, multidimensional, and contextually grounded. It reflects not a lack of courage, but a careful allocation of emotional energy, a recognition that some battles are internal, fought silently and unseen. The individuals who practice this subtle restraint often possess remarkable resilience, enduring the weight of their own thoughts while navigating the unspoken demands of the external world. Their strength is not measured by visibility, but by consistency, reflection, and quiet endurance. In the realm of relationships, this dynamic shapes interactions in profound ways. Connection is not diminished by averted eyes, it is merely expressed differently. Some of the deepest bonds form in the subtleties: the pause before a response, the attentiveness in listening, the patience that allows someone to speak without the immediate intensity of gaze. Humans are capable of sensing sincerity beyond visual cues, and those who avoid eye contact often communicate volumes through the rhythm of their presence. Their engagement may be quiet, but it is no less authentic. The absence of direct gaze becomes a canvas for nuanced understanding, where depth is conveyed through patience, empathy, and careful observation. There's also an interplay between trust and eye contact. For individuals who have experienced judgment, criticism, or emotional overexposure, the eyes may carry echoes of past encounters. They remember the discomfort, the intensity, the moments when vulnerability was met with misunderstanding. Avoiding eye contact then becomes a gradual, protective response to preserve trust until it can be safely extended. It is a slow calibration of self with world, a way of ensuring that emotional exposure does not precede emotional readiness. Humans who practice this form of restraint often carry a profound capacity for trust, yet they exercise it with deliberation, valuing security and respect over immediacy. Introspection deepens the psychological significance of this behavior. The inner landscapes of those who avoid eye contact are often rich with self-reflection, curiosity, and quiet exploration. They move through layers of thought and emotion with care, examining experiences before exposing them externally. The act of turning away becomes not avoidance, but a method of processing, a rhythm that allows emotional clarity to emerge before engagement. In this sense, their apparent withdrawal is an active, dynamic form of emotional regulation, one that preserves equilibrium while maintaining openness to connection when appropriate. There's also a philosophical dimension to consider. The eyes, while celebrated as windows to the soul, are not the only portals through which understanding flows. Humans perceive, connect, and empathize through myriad channels. The tone of a voice, the cadence of thought, the subtle shifts of energy that ripple between presence and attention. Those who avoid direct gaze remind us that visibility is not the sole measure of presence, and that depth often resides in the spaces between overt gestures. There is a universality in this lesson. Humans do not always need to be overt to be profoundly present. Silence, subtlety, and restraint are equally valid modes of being. Over time, the avoidance of eye contact may evolve into a conscious practice of emotional stewardship. Humans learn that their capacity to engage is finite, and that self-awareness often requires regulated exposure. The decision to meet eyes becomes intentional rather than automatic, a choice informed by context, energy, and emotional readiness. In this way, the behavior transforms from instinctive defense into a considered form of engagement, a strategy rooted in self-knowledge, empathy, and care. It is both protective and empowering, reflecting the sophisticated interplay between internal needs and external expectations. Even within communal or social contexts, this dynamic maintains its subtle power. The individual who lowers their gaze or diverts attention is not absent. They are observing, processing, and integrating information in a unique rhythm. Their presence, though quieter, carries its own weight, offering reflection, attentiveness, and thoughtful interaction. Humans often mistake volume for significance, but the profound impact of careful observation, measured response, and silent presence cannot be overstated. In many ways, those who avoid eye contact are among the most perceptive, attuned, and emotionally literate participants in human exchange. Ultimately, the psychology of avoiding eye contact speaks to the broader human experience of vulnerability, perception, and relational complexity. It highlights the tension between the desire for connection and the need for self-preservation. It illuminates the ways humans navigate emotional overload, manage sensitivity, and cultivate resilience. And it reminds us that expression comes in many forms, not all of them visible, not all of them direct, but all of them meaningful. The act of looking away is not absence. It is a presence in its own right, calibrated by thoughtfulness, empathy, and understanding. There is a quiet dignity in this form of restraint, a subtle courage that unfolds over time. To exist fully in the world while protecting the fragility of one's inner experience requires both awareness and patience. Humans who avoid eye contact carry this balance with them, negotiating the spaces between engagement and withdrawal, connection and introspection, exposure and self-preservation. Their lives demonstrate that sensitivity is not a weakness, but a form of quiet strength, a reminder that emotional depth is often measured in subtlety rather than display. As understanding deepens, those who once feared being seen may gradually expand the boundaries of their comfort. They learn to meet eyes when the moment feels safe, when trust has been established, and when vulnerability is a deliberate choice rather than a forced encounter. These moments, small and intentional, carry profound significance. They mark the unfolding of self-awareness, the cultivation of courage, and the harmonization of inner life with external experience. The eyes, once perceived as potential instruments of exposure, become gateways to selective and meaningful connection. Even so, avoidance may persist, not as a limitation but as a signature of individuality. Humans are not uniform, and the ways they navigate presence and connection reflect the nuances of temperament, history, and perception. Those who move through life with lowered gaze or subtle diversion remind the world that authenticity is not bound to convention, that emotional expression is multifaceted, and that human interaction is not solely defined by visual contact. Depth exists in silence, strength exists in restraint, and connection exists beyond what is immediately visible. There comes a quiet equilibrium where avoidance, when understood and respected, integrates seamlessly with engagement. Humans learn that emotional energy is finite, that sensitivity is a gift to be managed, and that connection need not be forced through direct gaze alone. In this state, avoidance is neither deficit nor flaw. It is a conscious, adaptive strategy, a reflection of thoughtful, emotionally literate living. The inner world and the outer world harmonize, revealing a profound truth. That presence is not always loud, that connection is not always visible, and that the subtleties of human behavior carry meaning beyond immediate perception. And so, the act of avoiding eye contact emerges as a universal meditation on human emotion, awareness, and relational intelligence. It reflects the constant balancing of vulnerability and protection, perception and engagement, solitude and intimacy. It is a testament to the richness of human inner life, a subtle declaration that the deepest connections often unfold in quiet, patient, and introspective ways. To witness this phenomenon is to witness the resilience, depth, and quiet wisdom inherent in those who navigate the world with care, subtlety, and intentionality. It is here, in this soft awareness, that a larger reflection emerges, that humans are not merely defined by what they show, but by what they hold within. The eyes may reveal some truths, but many are kept beneath the surface, preserved in silence. In CE, reflection and inner dialogue. The avoidance of eye contact becomes a gentle reminder that understanding and empathy often reside in the invisible, that emotional landscapes are as complex as they are unseen, and that the subtleties of human behavior carry profound meaning. Presence, even when measured and indirect, is no less authentic, no less valuable, and no less human. In embracing this perspective, the world gains a more nuanced understanding of connection. It learns that depth is often quiet, that sensitivity requires respect, and that every hesitation carries its own weight of meaning. Those who avoid eye contact are not absent, they are present in a different, yet equally profound manner. Their restraint, their reflection, and their gentle navigation of vulnerability offer insights into the intricate dance between self and other, emotion and perception, solitude and intimacy. Ultimately, the psychology of avoiding eye contact invites a deeper appreciation of human complexity. It challenges assumptions, reframes judgments, and illuminates the quiet ways in which people manage their inner lives. It teaches that presence is more than visibility, connection is more than confrontation, and understanding is more than the meeting of eyes. The subtlety of human behavior, when observed with insight, reveals that emotional intelligence often speaks softly, moves gently, and expresses itself in ways that transcend immediate perception. It is in these moments of quiet restraint that the richness of human experience becomes most apparent. And so, the journey of the eyes, the act of lowering, averting, and carefully directing them, emerges not as a sign of weakness, but as an emblem of conscious, reflective living. It is the rhythm of a soul attuned to itself, aware of the energies around it, and cautious yet willing to engage. It reminds us that humans are intricate, nuanced, and beautifully complex. Every subtle act, every quiet gesture, and every averted gaze holds within it the possibility of insight, the potential for understanding, and the quiet power of being deeply human. In the stillness of avoidance, there exists awareness. In the gentleness of restraint, there exists strength. And in the silence between gazes, there exists connection. It is a testament to the quiet power of introspection, the subtle intelligence of emotional regulation, and the profound depth of human experience. Those who navigate the world in this way demonstrate that the richness of the soul is not measured by the intensity of external display, but by the careful, intentional, and deeply human ways in which one engages, observes, and understands.